Hi there. Yes, 2013 is drawing to a close and CNN-IBN's Indian of the Year awards are back for the year 2013. All this week we have been bringing you the nominees in the different categories of CNN-IBN Indian of the Year awards for the year 2013. Tonight we bring you nominees in the category of public service. Who should win the Public Service Award for 2013? Here are the nominees.
In a year when India saw one of its worst catastrophes, it was the overwhelming courage and grit of some individuals that stood tall. 6 of those are our nominees for the Indian of the Year in the Public Service category. They saved more than 37,000 people from succumbing to the wrath of the Mandakini. Members of the team ITBP and NDRF put their own lives at risk, racing against time and dwindling hopes to save those who were stranded after the Uttarakhand flash floods. For their selfless and heroic effort, Team ITBP and NDRF are the first Indian of the Year nominee for public service. The Association of Democratic Reforms and Lily Thomas took up the task of tackling what had become a serious blot on our democratic system. It was on the basis of a writ petition filed by them that the Apex Court ruled that lawmakers have to quit if they are convicted of a crime. Team ISRO turned India's Mars dream into a reality, but it wasn't an easy task. 500 scientists worked tirelessly for 15 months on India's maiden Mars mission. If successful, it would carry India into a technical club of nations including the United States, Europe and Russia, whose probes have orbited or landed on Mars. He has become synonymous with action through information. RTI activist Subhash Agarwal has been using the Right to Information Act 2005 to expose irregularities in the system consistently and effectively for the past 5 years. Since 1997, Samarthanam has been working to provide education and support to empower economically backward, visually impaired and differently abled children in Karnataka. Over 3.5 lakh such children have so far benefited from Samarthanam's selfless efforts. The industrialist philanthropist has donated billions of dollars for the cause of education in India. Founder and chairman of HCL, Shiv Nadar, and his foundation have so far benefited 15,000 students. Nadar's foundation aims to create global leaders of tomorrow by providing transformational education to the young of today.
So who of those nominees deserves the CNN-IBN Award for Public Service? We're hoping to be joined by TV Mohandas Pai, Vice President of BPAC and Chairman of Manipal Global Education. We are joined by Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer and activist and Magsaysay Award winner, Harsh Mandar, former member of the NAC, activist of the Right to Food and founding member of the NCPRI. Thanks very much for being here. Kiran Bedi, before we get to discussing the nominees, I want to bring to your notice one name that perhaps should have been in our nominee list but is not there because of a technicality which I particularly feel very bad about, which is the J.S. Verma Committee on Crimes Against Women. The technicality here is that Mr. J.S. Verma, of course, Justice Verma has passed away and we cannot give it posthumously. But do you feel that this committee has done signal public service this year and perhaps is a big omission in our list?
Undoubtedly, the manner in which they conducted themselves, the speed in which they conducted themselves, the inclusivity, the professionalism, the research, the depth and the foresight and candid approach. I think they got it all right. In just less than a month, without a penny's cost to the government, Gopal Subramaniam, Mrs. Leela Seth and Mr. Justice Verma put it all together and changed the face of the rape laws in India. And not only rape laws, if you read the report, if you would look at it from all angles, all prevention angles, India's criminal justice system would be leaps and bounds better. I think we owe it to Justice Verma and his team and Gopal Subramaniam and Mrs. Leela Seth to actually threadbare, dissect the report and get into action taken with regular reviews to improve the criminal justice system of this country.
Justice Leela Seth, Gopal Subramaniam, Justice J.S. Verma, within 1 month, that path-breaking report that has changed the nature in which the legal system looks at crimes against women. It's a terrible shame that because of that technicality, they cannot be on our list of nominees. Harshmandar, do you feel that they too are actually, in fact, the big contributors to public service in the year 2013?
Absolutely, no doubt. I think that they're head and shoulders ahead of anybody else for many reasons. I think that, as Kiran Bedi also said, the quality, the speed, the integrity, the sensitivity, the progressive kinds of suggestions that they gave, many of which they talked about the Armed Forces Prevention Act, they talked about the juvenile justice law, they talked about a modern understanding of sexual assault which is much more gender just, and I think that the country owes it. I still wish that CNN could reconsider. Two of the participants are alive, and I think that it would be they could. I mean, I would rate them as the Indians of the Year across categories if they could have been nominated.
Right, so not just public service, you would actually rate them as Indian of the Year awardees, potential awardees. But let's come to the other nominees that are in our list. The ADR, the Association for Democratic Reforms, and Subhash Agarwal, the RTI activist. Kiran Bedi, the ADR, the very important breakthrough of the case of Lily Thomas and ADR. They challenged Clause 8.4 of the Representation of People Act, which allowed sitting MPs and MLAs to continue to be elected MPs even if they got convicted in a court of law. It was the ADR and Lily Thomas that actually defeated this clause in the Representation of People's Act. Do you believe this is a signal achievement? Because the ADR also is responsible for that PIL in 1999, which then forced the Supreme Court to make it mandatory for every contesting MLA or MP to declare their income, declare their backgrounds and declare that affidavit. So do you feel the ADR's contribution to our electoral process is signal? And also making a great contribution to our electoral process is Subhash Agarwal, the one-man army who is filing RTI after RTI, bringing out details about different institutions.
I agree with you, Sagrika. I'm a very avid reader of what ADR puts up and how diligently it does and how quietly it does, how thoroughly it does. And it has a wide network of volunteers all over the country. I've been meeting some of their volunteers even overseas. Lawyers who are interns, actually intern lawyers, NGOs. In fact, they've cobbled together, they've networked intern students, law students, NGOs to collect all information. And it's not a paid organization. It's just working by itself, but so well led by retired and serving professors of the Indian Institute of Management.
Right.
I think it's one of the most well-led non-profit organization focused on electoral reforms and reduction of criminalization in politics and integrity.
Mohandas Pai, do you agree with Kiran Bedi that in fact forcing electoral reform, bringing changes in the way Parliament operates, in the way legislative assemblies operate, that has been again another hallmark of 2013, civil society groups that are forcing change on the political system and of which ADR has played such an important role, the Association of Democratic Reforms, particularly in the Lily Thomas case, where of course famously the clause 8.4 of the Representation of People's Act was struck down.
Yes, Sagarika, that is because it has brought about a fundamental change in the governance of this country. It has brought about a fundamental change in cleaning the political system, and whatever is fundamental and whatever is change the course of future discourse, that deserves to be respected, and I think it's had a very deep impact, because in future we'll see that convicted politicians or politicians against whom charges have been made can no longer sit in parliament and they'll be disqualified, and that means there'll be a cleansing of parliament. And let's not forget one thing, Sagarika, that parliament could amend law or invest in the justice system to make sure that justice is delivered. For the last 60 years, Parliament has not taken any step to make sure people get justice. That means charges made against politicians can go on for 10 to 15 years, and they will take shelter in the fact there will be no conviction because they have not improved the system, and they will take advantage. Now that has been stopped. So this is very fundamental. I think it's absolutely fabulous.
So the ADR has done fundamental work. Let me get Harsh Mandar in on that. The ADR as well as Subhash Agarwal. Let me ask you to consider Subhash Agarwal as well. He's also one of our nominees. He's 62 years old. He's an RTI activist. He's filing RTI after RTI, getting information from the PMO, getting information from the CIC, getting information from the municipality, and he distributes all this information to the media. The one-man army of Subhash Agarwal as well as the ADR. How would you rate the two?
Actually, I think both are, the ADR is right on top of my list out of the 6 nominees. But also Subhash Agarwal, I think we need to recognize that both of them have contributed extraordinarily to the strengthening of India's democratic processes. ADR, looking at the electoral political process and persistently, and something that the system could not cleanse itself, has been done through the persistence of ADR, and I think the entire country owes a great debt of gratitude for their persistence. And I would really say, if Justice Verma's committee is not part of this list, I would rate.
You would give it to ADR.
But surely,
you would give it to ADR.
But I would, yeah. But Subhash Agarwal also, I just admire the man's persistence. It's really,
it's a one-man army. It's a one-man army. Let's take a
and he just persists.
Right. Let's take a short break, and after that I'll ask my panelists to tell me who is their favorite in our nominee list for public service, and we'll also consider the other nominees that we have in our list. That's after the break. Who deserves to win the CNN-IBN Award for Public Service for the year 2013? We're discussing our nominees and getting our panelists to assess their relative strengths and weaknesses. Mohandas Pai, Shiv Nadar is one of our nominees. Now, he, of course, is the industrialist, he's the IT czar, and, of course, someone who's also done a lot of work in education. He has set up schools in rural Uttar Pradesh. He has also set up a college of engineering. But he is himself a millionaire. He's on the Forbes rich list. He's worth $6.8 billion. Is Shiv Nadar someone you would pick out for public service?
I would definitely pick on Shiv Nadar for public service, but it depends on who else is there in the list, Sagarika, because to give away money is not easy. Azim Premji has done that, given away about 30,000
Isn't Azim Premji, I just want to interrupt you there, isn't Azim Premji actually the more deserving, because Azim Premji has given away 25% of his personal wealth to charity?
Well, I won't say between the two who is more deserving, because I know giving away money is very, very difficult for anybody, and the fact that very few people have done it, and some of the richest people in this country who are much richer have not done it, shows that it's very difficult. But I wouldn't like to judge both of them against who has given away more money, because what depends is how much of the money that you have given away. For example, a poor person giving away one roti that he has in the night to a stranger, I think is extremely valuable and deserves a kudos. So I wouldn't like to go into this for the Indian of the Year, but all I'll say, depending upon the criteria, to me, I would judge by who has brought about a fundamental change in society, and to that I think ADR clearly stands out as something that is
Still no comparison with ADR.
and fundamentally.
Right.
Yes.
Kiran
Yes.
Bedi, the most popular nominee in our public service category, when I put this question out on Twitter, was in fact the ITBP, which has done, of course, pioneering work in rescue efforts in the Uttarakhand disaster. 37,000 were rescued by the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. Of course, as we know, many of them even lost their lives. 15 of them lost their lives in that helicopter crash. So the Indo-Tibetan Border Police is actually the most popular nominee as far as Twitter is concerned for public service. How would you rate the Indo-Tibetan Border Police and their contribution to public service this year?
I wish you hadn't told me this is what Twitter was saying, because
Right.
I would have said the same thing.
Really, not ADR.
I would have said the same thing.
Not ADR. They're
I
above
wish you
ADR.
hadn't told me. No, I have a reason. I have a reason. And the reason is that I actually have two people in mind for this. And there's a tie in my mind. One is ITBP for raw courage. Because life is most precious over everything else. Money can come, intellect can come, persistence can come, perseverance can come, money, everything can come. But raw courage, where your life itself is at stake, and you put your life online and go and save hundreds and hundreds and go beyond endurance.
Right.
That is where ITBP stands out for me. But I'll tell you, there's another soft corner for me, I have, is for Samarthan. Because
Right.
working with the disabled means being truly selfless. It's the most difficult thing and the most patient thing to be working with the differently abled, the mentally disabled, particularly the autists and the mentally disabled. So I would probably say one is raw courage, is ITBP, and the second is truly compassionate heart, and a very compassionate heart. Otherwise you cannot work with the mentally disabled because they tax you to the maximum patience. So
Right.
I would say first ITBP, because they put their life on straight, and second is the ones who would give everything of themselves without any return, because the mentally disabled don't
ITBP
even know who's doing
and
so much for
Samarthanam.
them. So they just give.
Right, ITBP and Samarthanam. Let me just bring, those are your favorites. Let me just bring in Harshmandar. Harshmandar, again, ITBP. We also have ISRO, Samarthanam and Shiv Nadar. Quickly, where would all these four people stand in your ranking for public service?
See, the Association for Democratic Reforms is my first choice.
Okay.
For reasons that I explained. But I would, the ITBP would be very close. I think the men and women who work there, risking their lives, did an extraordinary service, and we forget them too often. In fact, in your list, I would have also got the state administration in Orissa for saving lives in the cyclone.
Very good one.
These are both
Very good one. We need to learn from them.
Yeah. And Samarthanam next. That
Right.
would be my list.
So ITBP and Samarthanam. Okay, I'm going to ask you four. I'm going to go across to my panelists and ask them, who do you think is the winner? Now, you can't say a tie, or you can't say both, or you can't say three. You've got to give me one winner. Mohandas Pai, our nominees, if I could just refresh your memory, is of course in fact the ADR, Association for Democratic Reforms, the ITBP, Saviors of Uttarakhand, Samarthanam, working for the disabled, then in fact the ISRO, the Mangalayan, the Mission Mars, Subhash Agarwal, the RTI man, and Shiv Nadar, the compassionate tycoon. Your favorite?
See, my favorite, like I said earlier, Sagarika, he is who has changed your future.
Okay, who is it?
In a very
So who is it?
different
Who should
manner.
win the award?
And that is for me ADR. ADR is a clear winner because they
ADR is
worked
a
for
clear
a long
winner.
period of time, and it's taken a long time, and finally it has happened. And our future is changed. You'll see a revolution in Parliament. You'll see a change in the MP's behavior.
Right.
And to me, that's a clear winner. Others have done great work. To me, ADR stands out this year.
ADR stands out. Kiran Bedi, you've already said ITBP. Is ITBP your clear winner?
It is. It is
Right.
because they've really put their life at stake, because they had no clue whether they could even be rescued themselves.
Okay,
And they've done it also for thousands. I agree, ADR is great. I have great respect for the others, but then you have to have somebody stand out.
somebody stands out, and your standout is the ITBP. Harshmandar?
The ADR, you know, it's a photo finish for me, but the ADR, because I think, you know, the cynicism that we have got over the years about our electoral system, the fact that it can be cleansed with determination and people can do it, I think they've given us.
They deserve it. Thank you very much indeed to my panelists for joining me. 2 out of 3 say it's the ADR, the Association for Democratic Reforms, that must win for public service in 2013. Kiran Bedi, they're saying it's the ITBP all the way. But as I said, the disclaimer is that, of course, the J.S. Verma Committee on Crimes Against Women, that is our big miss in our list. And as our panelists said, if that had been on the list, that would have been the clear winner. Unfortunately, because of a technicality, we were not able to include the J.S. Verma Committee. That's all we have on this Indian of the Year nominee special in the category of public service. The grand finale will take place on December 20th, when we will announce the winners in the various categories. Tomorrow, we'll bring you the nominees in the category of politics. Until tomorrow then, goodbye.